So did we have a problem of one of us not wanting to go sailing around the world?
I think that was one area where we didn't have a disagreement. I think we both were equally committed to doing this. I think we both had it as an individual dream anyway, which we've touched on before. So it was never a matter of if we're going, it was more when and how we're going to afford it. Talking to other blokes, they used to say how lucky I was to have a partner who wanted to go. It wasn't that I was lucky that I'd had a partner who wanted to go. That was just the default before we'd even set off. I didn't have to persuade you and you didn't have to persuade me.
It sounds like there's lots of males with women not wanting to go. So why are they not managing to persuade their wives to go or partners?
I think really you've got to divide the whole thing between two different questions. Is it a fear of going or is it just not wanting to go? And then coming up with lots of excuses. And I think if it's fear, it's possible to allay those fears by going on holidays, flotilla holidays and charter holidays. And if the person who's got the fear genuinely thinks it might be a good idea, those fears can be allayed over time. If the person just instinctively recoils from the whole idea, then those excuses that keep coming up, they're basically blockers.
I don't know. If any men are like you, that's why they're not convincing them, because I think the fear can be manifested in many different ways. So you can have a fear of sinking or a fear of leaving your family and friends or a fear of all the things we talked about in the last podcast. There's lots of different fears that I think are really valid. Because if someone says, I'm worried about the safety or I'm worried about missing my family and friends, then wouldn't the answer then be, well, we can invite your family and friends or you can come back and visit them? Or
Oh, sure. That's what we've been talking about in the recent podcast is how do you overcome those fears or how do you at least tackle those fears? Because a fear is just a fear. It's usually irrational and there is usually a logic way to approach those fears. But if it's just because you just don't want to go and you're just making excuses, then that becomes a different issue altogether.
But no one just doesn't want to go. I don't think. People have reasons why they don't want to go. And if they ask their partners, they can start listing all of those reasons.
For sure, it might be an underlying reason that they haven't even pinpointed themselves. They just might like the fact that they like sitting by the fire during the winter and just do not want to face the sea. But some people find it really articulate a genuine fear. It could be a subconscious fear you don't even know, but instinctively, I think some people just do not want to go.
But it's not always fear. It can be other reasons, which might be, I just want to carry on going shopping at my local supermarket. I don't want to have to look for other ones. Or I don't want to end up having to eat food I don't want to eat. It's not very adventurous, but they all could be valid reasons.
Well, it could be a fear of change.
You're going back to fear again. I think sometimes it's fear and sometimes it's just I'm quite happy with my life right now. I don't need anything else to be fulfilled. It's not fear. It's just I'm happy. And I won't be happy doing that because that will annoy me or irritate me. It doesn't have to be a fear. It just be like, I don't want to go through that.
So you think if you're really happy, you wouldn't do this in the first place?
I mean, you say this yourself, don't you? The adventure can be anywhere. It can be even running a business. So maybe someone's running a fantastic business and they're really happy doing that. And that gives them a lot of excitement and joy. And they don't need to search for adventure anywhere else.
I suppose that's a good point. People get the kicks out of all sorts of things. And just because you get your kicks is basically sailing off to the end of the world doesn't mean that everybody else is that. Some people could just be setting up their own business or bringing up the kids or pottering about in the garden even.
Absolutely. I think in a way you've got to find out what might excite that person. So I've heard some couples that someone really loves travel or history. And so if you could sort of map all the exciting museums that you could find around the world, then that would probably convince them a bit more. We even sailed with families like that who actually wanted to get on land and travel. So it was a kind of compromise. It's like, we will sail there, but then you can go travelling inland to see it.
Well, I think some of our happiest memories were with travelling inland. There's very few people actually like an ocean crossing. It's boring and it's monotonous. But when you get to the other end, that's when the excitement begins.
But the fact that you've arrived by boats, I think makes the whole experience more exciting. Like that whole thing of the things that are hard to get, you enjoy even more at the end. You appreciate it more. But it's a compromise because a lot of people are like, no, thank you. I don't really need to do that sailing passage to enjoy it.
There were times where I could have quite happily settled into a 5-star hotel, had my breakfast, gone out for a walk up a volcano or to see something and come back. A nice bed.
I think you would have been doing that most time, wouldn't you?
I would now, yeah. Now I'm pushing 60.
Maybe you didn't really want to go sailing.
Yeah, maybe towards the end that was true.
What should you not do if one person doesn't want to go?
I think trying to push through belligerently is the wrong thing. Thinking if you show enough positive energy, the person will just come into your slipstream and follow you through. That is a recipe for disaster. I think we've seen people that's happened to along the way, where one partner is just wondering what the bloody hell they're doing out there. I think that's why a lot of these trips fail, unless you sort that out at the very beginning. I can't see how really it's going to sort itself out. It's tough out there. And if you haven't voluntarily signed up to this thing, then that's when resentment can creep in.
So basically you're saying don't make them go anyway, if that's even possible.
I think it probably is possible. If you're in a partnership and something's going to make somebody happy, then you kind of go along with it. And particularly if you're sold the dream rather than the reality, because that is quite a rude awakening when you get out there and you suddenly realise that it's not all turquoise bays and dolphins at the bow. There's plenty of that, but there's also the flip side of that as well. There's boatyards and feral kids.
I don't think you'd be very good at convincing anyone.
Well, I'm not trying to convince people, but I think that's the point of this. Convincing somebody is not the right answer. It was Arthur C. Clarke who said there's 3 stages of revelation or revolution or something. First of all, there's complete denial. No, it's impossible to do. And then there's the next stage, which is it's possible, but it's too hard to do. And then the final stage is, well, I told you that was a good idea all along. So these 3 stages, you've got to take a person through, almost make believe that it's their idea in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's the art of a good negotiator.
So that's what you think you should do to slowly convince someone. You should make them think it was their idea.
Convince is the wrong word. I would say bring them round to that idea.
Bring them round to it.
Yeah.
How?
By allaying the fears through exposure, not through persuasion or embarrassment, but just talking through those things. And a charter holiday or a flotilla holiday or something like that is a great way to introduce it. We've always said, haven't we, that the best way to learn to sail is not really through a course. It's actually just to go on a flotilla holiday.
So you think just try and give them a taste of it, really, so they get a little bit of the spark of what's exciting about it, and then maybe they'll just go with it. I suppose it's the idea that they see someone else doing it and they think, I want to do that too.
90% of the time, it's the guy who wants to do it. And if there is a reluctant partner, it's generally the female. But I think when you go on flotillas, you meet other families and you meet other couples. And then suddenly it's not that scary sort of crashing through the waves mid-Atlantic. It's actually anchored in a lovely bay, having drinks on deck and chatting to people. And it's lovely, really, isn't it? There is the flip side of that, where I've seen families on flotilla actually break apart. But it's a good way to introduce it. You can give yourself a soft landing into the sailing world that way.
So what if someone does that and watches the videos and everything else and they just still hate it?
What can you do? If somebody is dead set against an idea, there's not a lot you can do about it, really. It's just acceptance. Every relationship, every marriage is a compromise. Maybe you could persuade them to go away on weekend charters or get a day sailor and do it that way. I know it's not the same thing, but that's what you sign up for, isn't it, when you get married?
So convincing someone is not easy and it might not be possible. So you've got to accept that, really, and that's the end of your dream.
Well,
That's awful, mustn't it? I just think if you really want to do this thing and then someone that you've committed to doesn't want to do it, I think you could limit the time. You could say, let's just do it for a year, and then at the end of it, we'll stop. And I think loads of people we met did it for a year or 2. Knowing there's an end to it, I think, meant that it actually worked, even though maybe the other partner wasn't so comfortable, but they did it because they knew there was an end point. They knew they're going back to their normal life and they've done the adventure and they did it together. And I think sometimes at the end of it, that reluctant sailor says, I'm so glad I did that. It was an amazing experience to do with my family. I'm really glad I'm going home, but I'm really glad I did it. I would say I remember that more than people going, this is a nightmare, and it being destructive.
I think people get the biggest enjoyment out of life when they step outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And nobody voluntarily steps out of the comfort zone. Sometimes it needs a little bit of a push. But I think that's a very good point, is if you have an end date, maybe it's just a sabbatical for a year. Like, okay, I know you don't want to live this lifestyle, but hey, let's just try it for a year and see how it goes. We've met people like that who've gone away, come back, sold the boat, and then buy a boat in a different area. So that to-ing and fro-ing becomes part of the lifestyle. You kind of throw all the eggs in one basket.
I think then also if you say, well, why don't you do my adventure for this year? And then next year it'll be your adventure. You get to choose. You both get to try something out you want to do.
This year we'll go on an adventure, next year we'll do the garden.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's equally valid, but just a little bit different.
I think asking the question at the right time is also important. If you're asking your wife to do it when she's kind of wrangling the kids for school or she's kind of harried because she's had a bad day at work, that's a really bad idea. It's a bit like romancing somebody, isn't it? Have a nice meal, light the candles, and then just drop it casually into the conversation.
You could do, although that could quite freak someone out, couldn't it? It's like,
yeah.
Oh, honey,
like,
we go sailing around the world. It depends, really. I mean, sometimes things that are going a bit hectic and your life is turning into a bit of a crisis and a disaster is when you make these decisions, because it can't really get any worse than this. What's the escape plan? That could be the time. Should we just quit this and go?
Possibly.
And they'd prefer it if he presented a spreadsheet and said, I've done this spreadsheet, this is what I think, these are the pros and cons. Other people might be like, yeah, sounds great, and they go off with the dream. It does depend on the type of person and how they make these decisions.
It's like the Kaizako treatment when the Zen master goes around and he whacks meditators on the back to try and wake them up from their monkey mind, and sometimes life does that to you. And so maybe it is a good time when you catch somebody who's just sick of their job, sick of the humdrum 9-to-5 life, and you just go, hey, let's just get out of here. Let's just do something different. And it just might be like, let's go. So yes, I suppose there is that as well. I suppose you've got to know your partner and you've got to know the timing. And not everybody does. Sometimes you think you know somebody and you think you know how they're going to react to something, and you get totally the opposite reaction. So yeah, it's a tricky one, definitely. I've been caught in many a boatyard and many a places where the guy's saying, look, how do I get my partner on board? I say, look, mate, I don't know your partner. But don't try and strong arm it. Just best approach is just to ease them into the idea first.
So what would a reluctant partner ask?
When somebody first hears that, look, let's just pack up the bags and stick the kids on a boat and just head to the horizon. I think the first thing they're going to ask is, are you having a midlife crisis? And secondly, are you just trying to live some sort of skipper's fantasy, like master and commander fantasy where you can boss us about on a boat? I think those are questions you've got to ask yourself as well. What are your motivations? Because those are the things that are going to go quietly through your partner's mind. The big one is, because it usually is midlife, are you just having a midlife crisis? And would you not be better off just buying a Harley Davidson? So you've got to ask yourself those questions before you start asking your partner, because they will for sure be asking that of you.
I don't know. I don't think you can always be clear though, can you? Don't know why you want to go. I didn't really know why I wanted to go, really. It was just a dream.
I think humans do like a bit of adversity and a bit of a challenge.
Challenge, I would say, yeah.
And that is one big challenge.
And that's maybe enough, a challenge in life.
I think it's important to know why you want to do it before you ask your partner, because you might even have some uncomfortable truths come to you when you ask that question of yourself.
I don't know whether you should ask it still. If it's just something you want to do, it's like, shall we go for a walk? Do we really need to investigate why?
Sometimes it's just curiosity, isn't it? Curiosity is a driving force without having an end in sight.
You don't know things to choose to do it. So maybe it's just going to find out whether you want to do it. You only live once, why not? Maybe that's the question you should ask, why not?
Yeah. We always thought we were on the same page, and we were, I'd say 90%. We wanted the adventure, we wanted to go sailing, we wanted to take the kids out of the system and let them see the world. But we weren't entirely on the same page, were we?
I didn't go through a list of reasons why I wanted to do it. I just remember saying, I really want to go sailing around the world. It wasn't really a clear-cut plan. So I don't think we sat down and compared notes. You had enough reasons to go and I had enough reasons to go, and that's a good reason to go. Maybe there's different reasons why, but it seemed to keep us both happy.
Once we were out there for a number of years, it's like any lifestyle. There's many branches off it. And one of those branches was the social side and the social aspect, beach fires and barbecues. And meeting up with people. And the other side of that is the solitude and the quietness of a lonely beach. Yeah, that was me. You more enjoyed the barbecues and the beach fires.
I love the idea of sailing across oceans and turning up at places and seeing what we were going to see. And we did it as a family, so we were never completely in solitude. I felt like the family kept me busy the whole time. And we did everything together, which is what I loved more than anything else.
I think family time was just unbeatable.
I look back now and I think I'm so glad I spent all that time with our family together. Yeah. And then when you find another family that's doing it, it helped a lot of the logistics of things. And the kids obviously preferred it as they got older. They preferred to have kids around. So it was all about making sure they were happy.
What's nice now is listening to the kids, well, the older ones anyway, talking about how grateful they are for that lifestyle. I think slowly they're coming around to realise, and having come back and integrated back into normal society, just how lucky we were to do that. Because coming back and seeing the way that kids are institutionalised now and the whole mental health crisis with the younger generation, I think our kids suddenly realise what an amazing life they had. It's hard to persuade them when they're in the middle of it, saying you don't realise how unusual this is. To them, it's just everyday life.
Yeah.
But now they're back and they've got something to compare it with. I think they appreciate it a lot more.
They do, yeah. But none of us really got much time on our own. You probably got more than anyone else.
In the engine bay.
We could be in the same anchorage. There wasn't time to spend with other families sometimes, because once you've done the schooling and a chore and then dinner.
And the maintenance.
But yeah.
So for anybody who's at home now is thinking about doing this and they're thinking about asking what they presume is going to be a reluctant partner, what advice would you give them?
I think I would start off with, do you want to have an adventure?
It's not Thursday night, love.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel you want to do something different in your life, have an adventure? If you know someone really well, I don't think you can pretend or try and slip it in without them noticing.
Yeah.
I think they're going to find out. So just be straight and just say, look, I'm just thinking about this big adventure. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
And see what they say. The first answer might be, no way. But then, you know, who knows? They might think about it and think, oh, maybe.
Never know unless you're going to ask.
Exactly.
So there's no straight answer to this one, is there? It's a difficult one, this one. Because you don't want to persuade, you don't want to cajole, you don't want to push, but you do want them to come along.
Yeah, it's just the longer you leave it, the more they're going to get suspicious.
Yeah.
So you can't keep pretending and then accidentally buying an anchor or something, or you know,
People have them.
or life jackets. You know, why have you got a life jacket, honey? I don't know. You never know. It might be useful. You can't quite slip things in that make someone feel like they're on a boat.
Yeah.
You can't do that either.
So
You've got to just ask them and then let them mull it over.
it's a bit like asking somebody out on a date, I guess.
Just be honest and say what you want to do and share your dreams or ideas, and then accept that they might want to do it or might not.
Everybody's adventure is different.
Yeah. But it might be the same, or you might be able to compromise.
That's it for this week.
That's it.
Bye.